You're listening to the Foreign and International Medical Graduate Show, a podcast to inspire physicians in the process of immigration to the United States and access to graduate medical education. We create meaningful and helpful content that motivates medical students and doctors throughout the world, with the goal of creating a community that supports itself and gives feedback to each other, that stays updated with the most recent tips and advice on how to make it in America and become a successful resident or fellow in the speciality of your dreams. Dr. Alonso Osorio is board certified and residency trained in both emergency and family medicine and will be bringing you 20 years of his personal experiences, struggles, and motivation. We'll be chatting with people like you to talk about the lessons they've learned along their personal path, how to make an impact, and how we can all benefit from it. Also, we'll analyse the current resources available and how to benefit from them. Thanks for joining us. Please enjoy the show.
Hello, and here we are. And today, I have a very good friend of mine and my personal financial advisor and president and owner of Drew Financial Group. And he's here with us, and I'm so excited. We've been planning this for quite a while, so thank you for coming over and just kind of giving me a few minutes of your busy time to just talk about the basis of what is financials in America.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on. It's an honor to finally get with you and do this episode. And hopefully those listening in can learn a lot from it and can give some good advice out there.
No, this is extremely important because I think this is a conversation that we never have. I mean, in medical school, we talk about science all the time. We talk about patient interaction. We don't talk about patient satisfaction, and we don't talk about money. And I know that before we started to get on the microphone, I was literally going to be honest and just say it out loud. You know, we doctors are really stupid at handling money. Not all of us. Many of you are extremely successful. You're business entrepreneurs. You have a whole life outside medicine. But when it comes to financials, when I speak about just myself, when I was PGY2 moonlighting in Iowa, I was making like $6,000-$7,000 moonlighting a week, and I would just blow it all up with no savings. And later on in life is that I realized that money was important to be put aside. So tell us about your group, how long you've been doing this, and I know you're very successful. Tell us first about you.
Yeah, well, first off, Alonso, I think you got to give yourself a little more credit than that. You guys, and it's not just doctors in a whole, but I would really say in any profession. Everyone kind of gets narrow-minded into their field or their line of work, and you become such an expert in that field, right? So it just doesn't allow for enough time of, study and research to then start learning financial planning. No different than the financial world. Us as a financial advisor, planners, you try to get me to give some topics and some information on your field or your line of work, whether it's a doctor, a lawyer, a real estate agent, you name it. So everyone has their own specialty. So let's start off there. But yeah, again, I've been in this business now since July of 2007 is when I started. So coming up now in 13 and a half years. Like you mentioned in the beginning here, at my agency, the title is Drew Capital Group. We're just an independent financial firm specializing working with retirees or even for those that are starting out in the accumulation phase. So we give that advice, and then over the course and change of your lives, you got to realize that the financial planning alters and changes, right? As you accumulate assets and you get closer to that retirement goal, okay, the way you invested when you're in your 20s is completely different when you invest now that you're in your 60s close to retirement. So that's why we feel that we do a good job here of educating our clients. We are in a fiduciary role, which simply means client first, nothing more than that we have to act in your best interest. And we have a very educated group, a tight group here, and we're able to give that knowledge and that information to our clients to make sure that their overall goals and objectives are met. So it works well being independent because we can sit down with our client individually and privately to really customize a plan to meet those goals and objectives.
Dedicate some VIP private time, right?
Absolutely.
As we have had this far in the last few years working together. So Chris, just for my naive immigrants, what is a financial advisor and what do you guys do?
Yeah, so essentially, we go to schooling as well, okay? So you have to take a series of courses and classes to get a license to practice and do what we do, right? So there's different types of licenses depending on where you want to work, whether on the broker-dealer side, as an independent advisor, or simply as an insurance agent, okay? So not to go into too much depth there, but yeah, we do have a specialty license and a lot of schooling, a lot of research and time to really understand financial planning. So with that, we just bring our knowledge to the table, and we just try to diversify, like I mentioned, customize a plan for that client to accomplish their long-term goals. And that long-term goal is financial freedom, right? Is accumulating the assets, investing it properly, and one day when it's time to retire and give up the workforce, is being able to live off of your money to meet your retirement needs so that your money does last you a lifetime. And that's what we're trying to accomplish here is making sure that we get you on the proper plan, the proper budgeting plan, that you're saving enough money for retirement, so that way we fast forward the time with simulating returns of what we can make throughout the years to basically give you a number of where you need to be to live your retirement with confidence.
And one thing that when I came to this country, people told me you need to have 3 professional friends. You have to have a lawyer. You have to have a financial advisor. You have to have a doctor, which you are, but you don't want to treat yourself. And, you find yourself, some sort of psychological, spiritual advisor, call it your priest, your pastor, etc. But you have to have some financial advice regarding how you handle your money, because, guys, you're going to realize you're going to make a very decent living in the United States. And if you don't measure yourself, it's remarkably easy to get in significant debt and go bankrupt in the United States. So,
and if I could add one more to your circle of friends there, probably be a good idea to get close with a tight tax or CPA.
Oh my God, yes, I forgot. Yes, it's crucial.
It's very crucial because, again, I think you're right on that. They all kind of work together, right? So we got to make sure our health is good. We got to make sure our investments are working well. We got to have a good lawyer to make sure that we're protected liability reasons. And we gotta minimize taxes if we're able to do it. I mean, we want to pay our share in that we're allowed to, but we want to have a good CPA that's going to help reduce as much taxes as we can and keep as much money in our pockets, right? So I would add that to the mix.
Okay, so just, Chris, pretend that I just came to America and I'm about to start my residency program and I have no clue how the financial market in the United States, how do I kind of manage my finances. And I come into a residency program and the residency program tells me, hey, Dr. Osorio, here you have access to a 401k plan starting in your residency program with matching, no match. Just let's talk about the very basics of the things that any person, not even doctors or not, shall be worried from day number 1 regarding their financial life.
Yeah, so what you're going to realize and find is that you have a lot of options here in the U.S. of how to invest your money. And that could be challenging and overwhelming because you look at all the different options you have, whether that's just in a simple savings account, a 401k like you mentioned, or some retirement plan, or maybe it's real estate. I mean, you have several options of how you want to allocate your money. And maybe over time, it's a good idea to diversify a little in each category, right? But to keep it simple for today's podcast, I'd like to talk about the 401k because, again, you're hired on, whether it's through a hospital or a practice, and they offer what's called a 401k plan for the employees. And what's great about that is that you are able to take a percentage of your paycheck, okay, that you're able to invest in your 401k, which is your account, and that's done pre-tax. So for easy math, if you were able to contribute $5,000 to a 401k, that $5,000 is going to go in there pre-tax. You're not going to be paying taxes on that $5,000. Now, with the matching program, your employer then is required to match up to a certain percentage. And there's different rules, and your HR person or whatnot who's setting it up will disclose that all to you. But a lot of times what you'll find is that, and just for today's purpose, a simple example would be they'll match dollar for dollar up to, call it 5% or up to 4% of your salary. So if you're making $100,000, okay, and they're matching dollar for dollar up to 4%, well, that's $4,000. So I would encourage you to, at very least, put $4,000 in the 401k plan because now your employer is going to match that, and now you have a total of $8,000 going in your 401k plan. So you continue doing that over the course of your career. You can see where all of a sudden you look back 20 years, Alonzo, and you're like, how did I get all this money? Yeah. Right? It's accumulating. They're matching dollar for dollar, and we haven't even talked about the growth potential throughout the years of how the money's invested inside of the 401k plan. So it's just a must. It's super imperative that you do that because that just helps jumpstart your retirement.
And how much is the allowance per year that you can set aside to a 401k plan?
Again, all the plans have their own set of rules, right? So the employer is going to set the bar what they
what
match.
I meant to say, the government, how much the government allows you to contribute to a 401k. I think it's like 20-something thousand a year.
Yeah, and those numbers change every year. Yeah, so let's call it 20 or 25,000 you put in, and it's all based on obviously what you're making, and then obviously what the employer can match too. So, and there's other things outside of the 401k. That's not your only choice. So you have 401k plans, but you can set up just a traditional IRA, okay, or you can set up a Roth IRA. So again, there's several different retirement programs.
I know that we have a 401k through my employer that I've been kind of transferring now to you. I have a traditional IRA. I don't think we have a Roth IRA. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, and really the difference within these retirement accounts that the IRS sets up here is just how they're taxed. So let's get into IRAs and Roth, because you really need to understand the tax benefits that they both really offer. The IRA is just like I mentioned, the traditional IRA is you put money in, okay? Now, in an IRA, you can put a maximum of $6,000 a year. You can't go over $6,000. So that's one of the downfalls, that if you want to put 20 grand in an IRA, you're capped at $6,000, and there's certain income requirements and whatnot. But you put $6,000 in an IRA, that $6,000 now comes off of your income line. So you're not being taxed. It's going in pre-taxed. Okay. Over the years, it's going to grow. And then when you decide to take it out, you would have to wait till you're 59 and a half, age 59 and a half, before you're able to withdraw that money out, okay, without paying any penalties, okay? And you will now at that time pay taxes on the distributions.
Got it.
So you don't pay any taxes on all the years that you've gotten growth, but now that you're taking it out, you are taxed at, depending on your income bracket. Now, the Roth IRA works completely different. The Roth IRA, you put $6,000 in, you're putting after-tax dollars in there. So that's not pre-tax money. So you have to pay taxes on that money first. You put it in the Roth. Now, same thing. It's going to grow, right, over the years. You have to wait till 59 and a half if you don't want to pay any penalties. But after age 59 and a half, you start withdrawing the money out. You don't pay taxes on the money.
Got it.
So a lot of times, depending on your age and where your income's at, it might be a good idea to do a hybrid. When I say hybrid, do both plans. So that way, when you retire many years from now, or if you're close to retirement, you're able to then have some money coming to you tax-free, and some money will be taxable, but it's always good to have kind of a hybrid, in my opinion, in terms of both plans, because who knows where our tax bracket's going to be 20, 30 years from now.
Yes.
Okay.
Another silly question from an ignorant like me regarding finances. By no means I pretend to be an expert. That's why I'm bringing the expert. Chris, and how much money is enough money to put aside? I know I'm not a millionaire, and I don't pretend to be. Doctors make a very good living. Let's say an average of $350,000 to $500,000 a year. That's how much you make. How much money you think is enough to live at least a decent life without worries in retirement? I mean, it's kind of a broad, unpredictable question, but just in general, what do you think to be comfortable, not to be worried about the stresses of daily life?
Now, this is a great topic, because this one comes up all the time, right? So everyone's wondering, okay, what is my real number? What do I got to get to to be able to say, okay, I made it. I could now retire. I now could,
And the reason why I'm asking is because some of my attendees, when the market crashed a few years ago, 11, 12 years ago, they had to push their retirement a few more years and kept working, hoping that the market was going to rebound and recover their losses. But in general, I don't know if there is a magic number for a comfortable retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. So that becomes tricky, but it's not that we can't solve it. And again, this is where the custom planning really comes into play. You want to meet with somebody that can truly customize a plan to meet your personal goals and objectives, because your lifestyle and what you want could be completely different than your neighbors, right? So it all depends, again, on the lifestyle and how much you really need. There's some people that like spending, they like nice things, and there's other people that have money, but they just don't like the materialistic things. So really we kind of just, we fast forward the time, we look at income, we say, hey, if you had, and this is a great way to analyze it, in my opinion. If you fast forward the time and you say, okay, I'm retired. And ideally, by the time you retire, the very first thing that you need is you want to make sure you have little to no debt. You got to pay off your debt. You should have a small mortgage or no mortgage at all. You should be at that point pretty much debt free, because that makes the planning that much easier and also gives you the confidence of saying, okay, now you can kind of budget your lifestyle, right? Because now the income that you need to generate also becomes a lot less. Because if you have high bills and high debts and you're paying things, obviously you need a higher income. If you can get that out of the way, well, now you don't have to produce as much income to still live the retirement you want. So if you fast forward the time and imagine and put a number to it, saying that right now, if I had zero debt, I didn't have all those medical loans, right? The bills. I don't have big mortgages. I don't have big car payments or, maybe kids' college and school to pay for. All that's gone away. And you say it's just myself, or if you're married and you have a partner, how much would you really need to do the things you wanted to do? Right. Is it 50,000? Is it 60? Is it 100? So when you kind of really figure that out, you got to imagine you might be making 100,000 or 200,000 a year now, but you won't need that. You won't need as much by the time you retire. You might need it now because of all the lifestyle, and you're traveling and you have a family, and it's just the spending is higher, right?
Yeah.
But all that kind of slows down, and now it's really your time to be selfish, really your time to take care of you and do things. But if you can eliminate the debt, it makes the planning a lot easier. So how do we get there is saying, all right, going back to the 401k, if you have an employer and a generous 401k, they're going to match. And by the way, that number is like 19,500. It changes every year. We said 25 because I was giving an example of 5,000 matching. So if you want to round up just for the show, let's just call it 20,000 is what you can put maximum. But that doesn't mean that the company is going to match 20,000. Okay, so the company contributions, it's going to be only up to a certain amount, which is typically 3 to 5% of your salary. So, but that's a way to jumpstart it. You start putting money in a 401k. Okay, I always go back to budgeting yourself. Okay, and I know we've talked about this, Alonzo, is being disciplined. Doctors are very disciplined. Going through medical school, you're very goal oriented. You set your goals, your short term, your long term goals, and guess what? Those that are listening on the show today, if you're in practice and you're employed, you've accomplished your goal. You've accomplished your dream. You got to it. So financial planning and saving for retirement is the same way. You have to have short-term goals, long-term goals, and you have to be disciplined. You have to be disciplined. So short-term goals are your week-to-week or month-to-month budgeting. Hey, what is our spending habits? How much do we really need to make to live the lifestyle we want? Long-term goals is saying, all right, I make X amount of dollars per year. I should be saving 10% or 20% of whatever I make. I need to stuff it away. I need to, even if it's just in a savings account, not really earning a whole lot, at least it's building up a side emergency fund or your retirement fund for you. So $100,000 a year. If you haven't done this yet, start off by taking 5 or 10%. That's $5,000 or $10,000 a year, and pretend that you've never made it. You're living your lifestyle within a percentage of what you make, which would be 90%. And as you get more comfortable with that, you maybe start increasing that percentage, right? And maybe you can bump it up to 20%. You make $100,000 a year. Let's carve out $20,000, save it away for retirement, and now you live within your means of $80,000 in income. As you make more money, you can kind of alter the percentages, but by doing that, it really jumpstarts and really the money starts accumulating fast. And then at the next point is meeting with somebody like me to figure out what are you going to do with that money that you're putting aside. How are we going to invest it? How are we going to protect it? And how are we going to grow it?
Yes. Wow, that's just gold. I'm looking at Chris and looking into his eyes and just thinking of what could have been of my life if I would have landed on the plane and met someone like him right away. It kind of took me 3-4 years to realize and get the language in my bloodstream to really have some awareness on what I needed to do. And probably not until my early 30s is when I started really kind of snapping out of it and realizing that life is more important than partying, traveling, driving a fancy car, having a fancy house, because it's crucial. I mean, as he's saying, people go broke because of sometimes lack of luck, but most of the time stupid decisions. And money, as easy as it comes sometimes, and we work so hard for it, could go away rather easy. So when I came to the United States, somebody told me, go and find a financial advisor. I don't think it's that easy, Chris. And it's because you and I met through our social club. And, I literally decided to work with you because it's your demeanor, the way you interact with people, how kind you are. And you look like an honest person that look at me in the eyes. And if somebody's going to manage my money, I want to see that on them. And you made me feel comfortable. And that's just credit to you. But one gut feeling that I had, I would say more than looking at big, shiny, fancy building, is looking at those person's eyes and realize that you can trust that person. Also being responsive, accessible, and have the capacity to meet once a year, twice a year, to kind of sit and reevaluate and kind of plan for the future and see if I'm being disciplined or not. So Chris really, he keeps checks and balances on what you're doing, and it's crucial, guys. I mean, this is golden advice. That's why I brought Chris here, because God, I want you to avoid having all the mistakes that I have done, that many people has done. And this is worth thousands of dollars. Personal advice like this is worth thousands of dollars, because if you're smart from day number one, right, Chris, it's going to just grow and grow and grow exponentially. And it's just going to be a nice, easy life. Obviously, if we don't lie before the age of 59 and a half, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you said it perfectly. It's, there's thousands of financial advisors. So it's kind of nice hearing on your side of the table saying it's not that easy for us to find who do we call, how do we get access, and there is several of us out there. But financial planning it's more than just investing your money. It's not just saying, hey, give me your money, I'll make it for you. We have to really sit down. We have to be good listeners. Yes. We have to really dig deep and find out, okay, what is it that we can do for you, and how do we keep you on track? Because if we don't, and we're just investing your money, that's only half of it. The other half is making sure that we're investing it properly, again, to meet your personal goals and objectives. And that's the beautiful thing about it. That's why going to each client meeting, it's all different, right? And you meet all these families and you see what they have and what their likes are, what their needs and wants are, and everybody's different. And so you have to stay up to date. You have to continue doing reviews. Whoever you hire out there as your advisor, hopefully, number one, I think you have to like them. You have to have a warm, fuzzy feeling about them, and do your research and take your time. Don't rush into something. Take your time and have a few meetings before you move forward, and make sure you're vibing, right? You want to have a good relationship. Just because you like somebody, though, doesn't mean that they're good. So you want to make sure that, yes, you like them and you vibe with them, but then, that's true. But then you meet with them and you're confident in that they're going to produce. Okay, because this is performance driven. If at the end of the day, if we weren't doing a good job here for you, as much as we like each other, but business is business, you'd have to shake my hand and say thank you, but I got to look elsewhere, and you should, right? So it's performance driven. So I think we do a good job of that here, is keeping the relationship, having those conversations to make sure that we're investing the money properly, and by doing that, we'll have good results over the years. In
your experience of all these years working with physicians and what I call normal people, what's your gut feeling in general on doctors, on how they manage their finances? Are we good, so, or are we really bad?
Oh, well, man, you put me on the spot here on this one. So, yeah, and I have an answer for it. I try to say it lightly, but unfortunately, in my professional opinion, I think that physicians, doctors, and really people just in the medical field in general, you guys have, and women out there, you have such a high responsibility. You're on call. You're working around the clock. You're busy, and it's very stressful. In certain situations, whether you're in surgery or you're prescribing medicine, you're evaluating people's health, and we have a phenomenal healthcare system here, and that's the reflect of that. Obviously, you're seeing that people are living longer, and so it obviously kind of alters our financial plan because of that. But my first feeling on physicians and people in the medical field is, because you're so busy and you're so wrapped up in your field, is that you just don't give the time that it needs or you deserve to have in terms of sitting down, slowing down, and saying, okay, I got to get my finances in order. And so you'll have a lot of people. You guys are also very sought after, because most physicians, and especially you've been in practice for a long time, are high income earners. So I would say that doctors, for the most part, are also the ones that are called on the most, trying to get your business because you know that, okay, they might have a lot of assets. They have some stuff. So, which in all fairness to you folks out there, it's saying like, you're getting pulled in so many different directions. Yeah. So that's why you see a lot of physicians unfortunately make mistakes because they rather just say, okay, I should just put my money there without really taking the time, studying the plan, meeting with that financial advisor 4 or 5 times before you say, okay, I'm ready. So for those listening out here, I just encourage you that if you are one of those out there that are being called on a lot or just seems like you're being pulled in a lot of directions of how to invest your money or what to do with it, take some time for yourself. You got to focus on it. It's important. It's your life savings. This is what you're going to be living off of one day. So it needs to be thought at. You know, you got to take your time and make sure that you're investing the way that you need to invest and that you understand the plan too. So financial planning can be complicated. And so if you never really understand what's going on, how can you invest your money with confidence?
Despite many years, you know, things are so dynamic and ever changing on this aspect of financial investment. But in general, guys, I just want you to be smart from day number one. Well, Chris, anything else that you would like to say to any person that is coming fresh into the United States, has no clue on how to be smart with their money?
Keep it. Don't spend it. Start off by saving. That's the first thing you do.
So somebody told me, and didn't mean to interrupt. I said, Alonso, live a simple life for 5-6 years. Drive the same car you drove through residency. Get a tiny little house and put money away, 10 to 20%. Dr. Jim Gillen told me. And this was a little bit too late. This was at the beginning of my second residency training, 7 years after I hit my first step on this country. So he, you know, you just said it, just set money aside.
And he was spot on. You have to put money aside, be frugal in the beginning and just get used to the lifestyle here, right? I mean, you'll have the money. You can always buy the fancy cars, right? So start off by being disciplined and getting used to saving money, you know, and it'll all work itself out.
Get yourself a good wife.
That too. Yes, that makes it a lot easier.
For me, it's been amazing. I think I could have not ended with a better wife. My wife is the smart part of my life, and she's the one that actually saves money more than I do. Yeah. And I'm the spender. So, Chris, how do we get a hold of you if somebody's coming into the U.S. or even if they're not living in the United States and they want to get a hold of you? Because right now the world is within our grip, it's in our hands. People are connecting now through the internet. I bet you have many customers that you haven't never even met, that they just trust you and they want you to manage their money. So how do we connect with you? Where do we go? Well, who do we call?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, like you said, with technology and how fast it's changed, and especially with this year with everything going on, we're able to talk all over the world, right? And that's just through a Zoom, a FaceTime call. We can figure out the details on that end of it. But just to get immediate information, look at my bio, see my staff, you know, look at my firm, some of the services we offer here, which is complete financial management. I mean, it's not just managing your money, but it's looking at budgeting and asset allocation in different sectors. So go to my website, drewcapital.com. So www.drew, that's D as in David, R-E-W, capital, that's CAPITAL.com. That'd be a start, and then all my information's there.
Okay.
My office phone number, my email address. Use me. I could at least be a resource for you. I told you I'd do it for anybody on the show. They just had a simple question. It's not going to cost you anything. Okay, we're going to give back to the show as a free consultation. So I'm here for you and be happy to be a resource.
Just be in the lookout at the bottom of the show notes. Chris and Drew Financial's information will be all there for you to get a hold of him. As I said, I'm not a financial advisor. Yesterday we spoke about credit. Today we have him over and we're going to continue awesome guests like he.
Yeah, I'd be happy to come on again. If this is kind of a broad overview, but if there's anything specific, I mean, if we can do a show on something specifically on 401ks or specifically on IRAs, or it could just be about estate planning. So we could talk about a specific topic in terms of investing to educate the audience out here, and I'd be happy to do that.
Or how to save for kids' college plan.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's a huge one.
Take your entire paycheck and put it aside.
That's awesome. So, guys, it's been 30 minutes of goodness and fantastic information. I really want to thank you for taking a little bit of your lifetime just to dedicate to us and my friends. And I know that you guys are going to be extremely satisfied. So, call to action to our listeners: download, share, post, repost, and I need something. I need feedback. I need to know what else you want to know. I want to know if you want to hear a little bit more from Chris and Drew Financial about financial planning. You guys are all fresh. We are all naive, and I was very naive at the very beginning. So having had someone like him in the show was just an amazing experience. I hope you like it and I hope you enjoy it. Chris, thank you for your time again, and it's been awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you.
God bless you all and keep listening. Thank you. Bye-bye.